Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of Telile 24/7. I'm your host, Adam Cook. On this week's show, we'll catch up with the brand new CAO for Richmond County, Troy MacCulloch, and we'll also talk to the CEO of EverWind Fuels in Point Tupper, Trent Vichie, about how the project to produce green ammonia in the Strait area is going. And you'll see not just one, but two editions of our infamous Fast Five game. But we begin on a serious note with the passing of Queen Elizabeth II last week. She was Canada's head of state. She left a wide impact on many people across the country and around the world, and in addition, right here at home in Nova Scotia. We're going to share with you now a special farewell to Queen Elizabeth II that was put together by the Office of Nova Scotia's Lieutenant Governor, Arthur J. LeBlanc. We are very grateful to the folks at Communications Nova Scotia, the province of Nova Scotia, and the Office of the Lieutenant Governor for providing us with this footage. Here now to speak on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and her special relationship with Nova Scotia during her 70 years on the throne, His Honour, the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, Arthur J. LeBlanc.
It is with profound sadness that Mrs. LeBlanc and I learned of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada. C'est avec une profonde tristesse que Madame LeBlanc et moi avons appris le décès de Sa Majesté la Reine Elisabeth II, Reine du Canada. Her Majesty reigned for an historic length of time, and for over 7 decades, she witnessed and was part of many world-changing events. As the longest reigning monarch in our history, the Queen dedicated her whole life in service to her realms and to the Commonwealth. The Queen's life was characterized by duty before self. She first signaled her commitment to her future role as sovereign when she made a radio broadcast in 1947 in Cape Town, South Africa, when she turned 21. In that broadcast, she said, "I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong." At that time, we all did not know that she would go on to be the longest reigning monarch in our history. Princess Elizabeth also noted in her broadcast that although she was 6,000 miles away from her country of birth, she was certainly not 6,000 miles away from home, and that the people of the countries that she and her parents were visiting had taken them to their hearts. She returned that sentiment and love for her peoples, and throughout her long reign, she extended her reach to millions of people around the globe. Her record as the most traveled world leader in human history is unlikely to be surpassed. She was queen of not just her realms and territories, but was head of the Commonwealth of Nations, an organization that grew under her leadership. She was also someone whose example of stability and dignity was recognized in nations where she was not head of state. Simply stated, she was universally respected and admired. As Queen of Canada, she made 22 tours to our country, more than any other realm. Throughout her life, she journeyed to every province and territory and made 5 trips to Nova Scotia. In November 1951, the then Princess Elizabeth first visited Nova Scotia as part of a pan-Canadian tour on behalf of her father, King George VI. And she was accompanied by His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh. During this visit, and all of her other subsequent trips, she was met with great enthusiasm and joy. The Queen would visit Nova Scotia again in 1959, 1976, and 1994. Her last trip to Nova Scotia was in June 2010 as part of the commemorations to mark the centenary of the Royal Canadian Navy, where she embarked on HMCS St. John's for the International Fleet Review that was assembled in Bedford Basin. My wife Patsy and I have our own happy recollections of the meeting the Queen when in October 2017 we had a private audience with Her Majesty after I was installed as Lieutenant Governor. I remember that she greatly admired and appreciated the Nova Scotia gifts that we presented to her. We were both touched by the Queen's great warmth and kindness and her sage advice. Although there are many aspects of the Queen's long reign that I could highlight, I believe that her messages in April, May, and June of 2020 were particularly comforting and encouraging during a period of disruption in our lives due to the pandemic and the tragic mass shootings in Nova Scotia. The Queen offered us her heartfelt sympathy and hope that we would all come through this upheaval and sadness. Her messages were inspiring. Souvenons-nous de Sa Majesté la Reine Élisabeth II, Reine du Canada, pour sa remarquable vie de service, de devoir et d'engagement. Au nom de tous les Néo-Écossais, j'ai écrit à Sa Majesté le Roi pour lui transmettre, ainsi qu'à tous les membres de la famille royale, nos plus sincères condoléances. Let us remember Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, for her remarkable life of service, duty, and commitment. On behalf of all Nova Scotians, I have written to His Majesty the King to convey our deepest sympathy to him and all members of the royal family.
And once again, we thank Communications Nova Scotia, the Province of Nova Scotia, and the Office of the Lieutenant Governor for providing this special tribute to Queen Elizabeth II for us to use on Telile 24/7. Right now, we shift to municipal politics, and specifically the arrival of a new Chief Administrative Officer right here in Richmond County. The previous person to hold the post, Don Marchand, retired this past spring. Karen Malcolm, a former executive with the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, filled in an interim role over the summer. But now there's a new CAO in town. His name is Troy MacCulloch, and he has several years of experience not only as a CAO, but also as a municipal councillor. Let's meet him right now with this interview that I conducted at the Telile Studios just a few days ago. And we're pleased to welcome for his first visit to the Telile Studios here in Arishat, the new Chief Administrative Officer for Richmond County, Troy MacCulloch is our guest today. Troy, thank you for joining us here on Telile 24/7.
Thanks, Adam. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here, and the very first question we want to ask you is that how has it been so far? You've been on the job for about 6 weeks now. What can you tell me about how things have been? Have you been settling into Richmond County, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, great. Spending a lot of time with the staff, getting to know who the players are, what's in their portfolio, what's on their desks, and settling in great. Even during the interview stages, my wife and I were coming up every weekend just to take a look around to see, get a feel for the place again, and found a place in St. Peter's. So yeah, it's nice. Really enjoy being here, and it's one of those places I find myself wanting to pull over every 5 minutes and take a photo. I did the same thing out west all the time and drove my staff nuts out there. I'd just say, pull over, I got to take a shot of this, and I'm doing the same thing here.
It doesn't take you long to find out that Richmond County has a lot of instant postcards and instant screensavers and things like that. Just a lot of beautiful spots.
It is. It's stunning scenery, and everybody I've met's been great. So far, I don't get recognized at the Foodland, but that'll come in time. But right now, everybody's been wonderful.
Well, that's terrific.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what attracted you both personally and professionally to Richmond County at this time. What were the things that made you think you wanted the job of CAO?
Yeah, well, things kind of lined up. We were out in Alberta the last 4 years, and my wife and son moved out last year. I was out there the first 3 years on my own, traveling back and forth. But at Christmas time, my wife and son moved back to New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, because my son wanted to finish his high school with his friends back here. So that started the clock at that point. The 3 years away from my family was more than enough, and then I think it was February or March when this job came up. And as soon as I saw the job in Nova Scotia, I was like, yes, I'm enjoying being a CAO. A lot of my past experience lends myself to that role. And the ability to do it in Cape Breton and anywhere in Nova Scotia was, just doubly great for me. And being an hour and a half away from New Glasgow, it's just like the stars were aligning. And I had a number of friends that I met at St. X that are from this area, so hopefully we reconnect at some point, and I can start those friendships anew. But it felt like coming home. It doesn't matter that it's in Richmond or in New Glasgow. Nova Scotia is home. And like I said, when you see those sites off Babbins or anywhere here in Richmond, you know you're home.
Now, you've brought up New Glasgow a few times, and I think it'll help for our viewers to know that you were a town councillor in New Glasgow for 11 years.
I was.
Yeah, most recently you've been the CAO for a county municipality around Pincher Creek, Alberta.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you feel your time as a town councillor, an elected municipal official, has helped you in terms of being the CAO, not only in the Pincher Creek area of Alberta, but also now here in Richmond County?
For sure. With New Glasgow, it's my hometown. I'm born and raised in New Glasgow. And I got to serve 4 terms. 2 of them were partial terms because I came in on a by-election, and then 2 full terms. And then I left halfway through my 4th term to go out to Alberta. Being a councillor, though, and municipal service, it's, when it's your hometown, when it's where you live, there's some people really enjoy it. Some people don't. I do. I get really excited when we're doing things for our neighbors, for our communities, and so that time as a councillor really helped me learn the role. Because all 4 terms, I had a very capable CAO in New Glasgow in Lisa MacDonald. I served under 3 different mayors, Anne McLean, Barry McMillan, and Nancy Dix. But that whole time there was one CAO, and that was Lisa MacDonald. And she is the model and standard that I aspire to. So she's very capable in that role, and I try to emulate that as best I can. But having served those years as a counselor, now going on the other side of the desk, I have some experience on what it is to be a counselor, which is a part-time job. And I'm cognizant of that for the counselors because the information I give them, that's all they get on a lot of these topics. So, and that is my role, is to provide them with good information so that they can make the decisions. And so I really try and be aware that, you know, they all have jobs, they all have families. The council thing is a part-time thing. So I want to make sure that there's no gaps in that information, that they feel that they are involved in the process, and that, you know, because they are the head of our organization, they are the governance. Everything we do Monday to Friday, most of the time falls under me and my staff. But we do that within the framework and the guidelines of the policy set out by council. So yeah, finding those touch points between council and staff to try and bring them together, it's very important.
It's an interesting position to be in as a CAO because on the one hand, you are helping to keep things running smoothly, but on the other hand, as much as you hold the highest non-elected position in the municipality, the 5 councillors, including the warden, are technically your boss.
They 100% are. They are, and that's important that it's the 5 of them. I don't work individually for the councillors. I work for all 5 of them, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to have one-on-ones with Councillor Sampson or Councillor Digdon or the warden herself. But when it comes to major items, it always goes to council. It's a decision of the 5 of them, and then I get my marching orders and away I go. So
now, looking at those relationships, though, especially those that you're forming right here in Richmond County right now, I know it's only been a matter of a month to a month and a half, but what's your first impression of this council, this warden, and the overall structure here in Richmond County?
Oh, very positive. I just had a meeting this morning with the folks over in Port Hawkesbury, and I think we are in a very positive situation here with the relationship between the warden and the mayor, the relationship that exists between the staff in Richmond County and the staff in the town of Port Hawkesbury, the excitement of possible new developments at Point Tupper. These are really big files, and they're really a time for us to try and shine and you know, change the conversation that may be happening at the Robins or the Tim Hortons from time to time, and really put our best foot forward and, you know, set a course for brighter days here.
Now, springboarding off that, do you feel, and obviously you can't take a personal position. That's not what the CAO's job is. No. The CAO does have to remain objective and nonpartisan, but that being said, are there any short or long-term goals that you yourself would like to see the county pursue? You've talked a bit about partnership with neighboring municipalities, and that's been a through line for quite a while here in the Strait area. But what are you hoping to see, at least in your first few months, if not for the long term, for Richmond?
First few months is really just getting a feel for what's on everybody's plate. What services are we offering? Do we have any roadblocks? Do we have any shortcomings in some of these areas? I'm going to be able to get into my first budget cycle just around Christmas or after Christmas to get ready for the spring. So that's where we'll really do a deep dive on what's our head count, what's our service. We have our strat plan refresh that is going to be, the executive summary is going to be discussed at the Committee of the Whole next Monday.
And that's still going on, the strategic planning process for Richmond County, yes.
It is. We're just about done of that process, and then we're going to take what they do and turn that into action items. And so that'll be great. You know, the strategic plans are a great touch point between council and the citizens, and then it's on us as staff to take that direction and turn it into actionable items. And looking forward to that process. The planned Richmond work is just being completed as well. Yeah, so, and the arena, the boys are at the arena again. They started on Monday, so we're getting ready to have that going. The first 30, 60, 90 is figuring out the organization internally and starting to I want to do road tours with each councillor in their wards, and I want them to take me around and show me what makes District 1 or District 5 what it is to live there, and just so I get a feel for it. Plus, we in the rural municipalities are beholden to the province for some maintenance and some different types of work. So just highlighting some of the areas that may have been not serviced to the level we had hoped over the years, and see if we can do something about some of those files. We have such a beautiful area. We don't want people ruining their vehicles trying to go see it.
Now, you mentioned the Richmond Arena, and it's an interesting time for the municipality because it's taking a good hard look at what it will take to replace the Richmond Arena and set up a new recreation complex. When you arrived as CAO in July, the initial press releases and media from the county said that you had been heavily involved and interested in sports over the years and in volunteerism. So can you tell me a little bit about what that involvement was and why you think it's a good fit for you as you start as CAO?
Oh, it is. You know, unlike an elected official and, you know, the double advantage of being out in the public and approachable, I still think as a CAO, my community involvement has to be present as well, so I can gauge how we are delivering on the services to the people that live here. I belonged to or coached baseball, soccer out in Pincher Creek. It was with the high school football team. And then I don't want to bore you with a list of the nonprofits, but everything from United Way upwards to the other groups. So I'll be looking for those opportunities to see what's here, what the groups are doing, whether it's Kinsman, Lions Club, whatever. Church groups, if they need a hand with a shepherd's lunch or anything like that. I believe in volunteerism. I think as a county and our staff, along with council if we can, should be out there helping where we can. It's a great way to team build, and it's also a great way for the residents to see us out there doing our part.
And you'll find a strong tradition of volunteerism here in Richmond County. You'll also find that Richmond County is pretty baseball crazy, of course.
They are.
RABA just wrapping up for the season, so you know how big that is over here. And I found out just before we went on the air that you, like me, are a fan of the Montreal Canadiens.
I am.
Which will endear you to huge pockets of the county and alienate you in others.
They will.
But as for me, just in terms of the way the last couple of years have gone, that shows that you are also a masochist as well. So more power to you for sticking with them through the tough times.
Not as much as the Leaf fans are, but there you go.
Precisely. Well, I mean, that's a proud tradition. That's 55 years of masochism right there.
It is.
We've covered a lot of ground in a short time, Troy, and I appreciate you giving me some time here. Did you want to add anything else about all this just before we wrap up?
Not at all. I just thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with the different community groups here in Richmond County and beyond throughout Cape Breton and Nova Scotia. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited for what's possible in the near future with Richmond County. And everything right now is telling me we have a great council, great staff. And with a little work here, we're going to put our best foot forward and see if we can get some good things done here.
All right, well, we look forward to working with you. We'll hit the ground running as Telile comes to the Committee of the Whole meeting on Monday evening coming.
Excellent.
But in the meantime, we know that your plate is piled high right now. We appreciate you giving us some time. So thank you, Troy MacCulloch, for joining us here on Telile 24/7 today.
Adam, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, good to meet you and good to have you here for the first of many visits, we hope.
Let's hope.
Right on.
Thank
Troy
you.
MacCulloch is the Chief Administrative Officer for Richmond County. We've been speaking to him here at the Telile Studios in Arishat. Stay tuned for more of Telile 24/7 in just a moment. And you'll learn just a little more about Troy MacCulloch in a few moments' time as we play our Fast Five game here on Telile 24/7. But right now, let's head up the highway to Point Tupper as the Richmond County Industrial Park welcomes a new neighbor, specifically EverWind Fuels. The company is looking to produce green hydrogen and green ammonia at the Point Tupper site that most recently was home to New Star Terminals, and as well has hosted Scotia Terminals and the Gulf Oil Refinery in the past. How is this green ammonia process going to work, and what will it mean for our area? Well, to answer those questions, here's the CEO of the company, Trent Vichie. I caught up with him at the Point Tupper headquarters of EverWind Fuels. Here's that interview right now. Just outside the Point Tupper site of EverWind Fuels, we're pleased to welcome company CEO Trent Vichie to Telile 24/7. Trent, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, and part of the reason we wanted to speak to you is because your company held an open house at the Maritime Inn in the Port Hawkesbury room just last week. It seemed like there was a good turnout there. What did you feel about how things went?
I felt really good about the meeting. We had good attendance, so we had lots of people turning up and asking sort of good questions. People were communicating that they were sort of excited about the project and its potential, and I'd say it was a very good engagement session, so we were pleased.
Now, looking back a little further, Trent, EverWind Fuels announced that it was setting up shop here in Point Tupper back in May. What has the community response been since that time?
So the response has been good. I'd say a few questions around what's timing and what's how the various processes work. But one overriding response we've been getting is like, well, how quickly can you start to build and start to get this thing going? So we are working around the clock on that right now. So we're focused.
We'll talk a little more about that timeline later on in this interview, Trent. But right now, I wanted to ask the basic question, why Point Tupper? Why did this area and this site appeal to your company?
Yeah, so what I'd say, in terms of producing green hydrogen, the most important thing is the lowest cost of renewable power. And what that really means is the best renewable resource. And in the case of this area, you have one of the best wind resources in all of North America. So that was a key part of the selection of the site. You've got great wind here, and there's a way for us to sort of benefit together and to build the project and take advantage of what is just a natural and renewable resource that'll be here for a long time.
In terms of this actual location, it's been here for a long time and developed a solid reputation through the Gulf Oil refinery years, through Scotia terminals, into the New Star ownership just prior to your arrival here. What made all of this work for EverWind Fuels?
Yeah, so the most important aspect of developing and building these projects is developing out the marine infrastructure. And so the marine infrastructure and the port that we have here is the deepest ice-free berth on, I think it's on the east coast of North America. It does take a long time if you were to build a greenfield site to actually go through the permitting process, planning, etc. And by selecting this site, we save that time. And why is that important? It's really because what's going on in the green hydrogen space globally is there's a lot of parts of the world that want to do the same thing as we're doing here. And by selecting this site, we're able to start the process and actually get into production a lot faster. So it was really the existing infrastructure. The other thing which is really important as well is you need a team. And so the team that we've got here on the site is fantastic. It's got the best safety track record of any business I've ever seen in my entire 25-year career. More so than that, it's a local team, and there's when you have a team that is local, they know all of the things that you need to do business with, and they have the relationships, the local knowledge, and that is important in terms of like making the business better, but also like managing risk in the business as well. So the team was absolutely critical, and we've been thrilled with how things have been going so far.
You've already mentioned green hydrogen a couple of times, and I know that the priority project for EverWind Fuels here in Point Tupper is the creation of green ammonia. For our viewers that might not understand all of this, what exactly do these terms mean, and how will the production of green ammonia proceed at EverWind Fuels?
Yeah, absolutely. So how you make green hydrogen is through a process called electrolysis, which sounds fancy, but what it is essentially is it's running a current through water, and water is H2O, and that process breaks the water into H and O. And if you use renewable power for the electricity source for that, that's green hydrogen. And in terms of how green hydrogen fits in with green ammonia, ammonia is actually NH3. So it's hydrogen and nitrogen. And the air that we breathe is 80% nitrogen. So the way the process works is you have an air separator unit which grabs nitrogen from the air. We have green hydrogen coming from the electrolysis process, and it's put into essentially like a large pressure cooker. The process is called the Haber-Bosch process, which was invented by the Germans back in the early 1900s. But you put the nitrogen from the air, the hydrogen, and then NH3 comes out. Ammonia itself is essentially, for the most part, farm fertilizer, and it's really essential to life on the planet today, because when you put that fertilizer on farms, the production you get from the land is close to doubles. And so one of the things that I've heard or researched is that without the ammonia as a farm fertilizer, you'd actually have 3 billion people less on the planet today. Like it's essential to life. In terms of how it's being produced today, it's the same process, but the hydrogen is coming from natural gas. And so natural gas is CH4. So they break apart that CH4 into the hydrogen. Unfortunately, what that does is it leads to CO2 emissions. And so for every ton of ammonia today, you produce CO2, 2 tons of CO2. So it's one of the largest CO2 emitters in the world. So our opportunity here is to take power from the wind, nitrogen from the air, and water to make renewable fertilizer that doesn't have a carbon footprint.
So from the point of view of yourself and your company, you feel that you're essentially turning a negative into a positive.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So what are the tools available at this specific facility here in Point Tupper that allow the green hydrogen and green ammonia processes to take place?
So the site itself is 1,400 acres, so there's more than enough room to put the electrolyzer units, which are essentially they're put in large buildings, sort of, call it, 40 meters by sort of, 100 meters long, almost like a warehouse from the outside. So the electrolyzer's there, you put the ammonia plant next to them. And then in terms of what's here, it's really the port asset. So the piping will run down to the port so that it can be put on boats for, transport to its end markets. And also you've got an on-site sort of operating safety team to operate the facilities there. So you've got the core infrastructure here. You've got water that's within the site boundaries. You've got power that we can from transmission close by. So it really has all of the things you're looking for. It also has rail on the site that's usable, road access. It's really an interconnected hub. And as you're developing a business, having those logistics interconnections are critical.
So this all gives us an example, Trent, of how green hydrogen and green ammonia are produced and how it can be produced here in Point Tupper. But can you give us a sense now of the market for green hydrogen and green ammonia? Are you looking nationally? Are you looking globally? What does EverWind Fuels have in mind for what it's producing here?
Yeah, so I'll talk about green ammonia. So today, ammonia is 180 million tonnes per annum. So it's a very, very large market. The first phase of this project will be around about 200,000 tonnes. The second phase, 1 million tonnes. So it's a very large and well-established market. With regard to green hydrogen, well, hydrogen today is mostly used in industrial processes, refining and other things. The use of green hydrogen is more about the new uses. So today you're starting to read about hydrogen fuel cell cars and trucks, and so that is one of the things that we'd like to do over time, is to be a green hydrogen supplier here in Nova Scotia. And fundamentally, you can't be buying or green hydrogen trucks and cars without a green hydrogen supply. So it's really about breaking the chicken and egg so that we can further decarbonise Nova Scotia.
You mentioned, Trent, that this is going to be a two-phase process in terms of producing green ammonia here at the EverWind Fuels site in Point Tupper. Can you give us a sense on the timeline for those two phases?
So we're working through the environmental assessment process for phase one, which is why we had the town hall. That will be submitted in the very near term, with an expectation that we'll have the permits by the end of the year. We plan on starting construction, around the end of Q1 of next year for that first phase, and that will that construction period will run for about 2 years before we start producing, sort of the start of 2025.
Any projections on how many workers you'll need for the construction phase?
Yeah, so on the first phase of the project, roughly around 500 people on the construction, and then more for the larger second phase.
So, Trent, where is EverWind Fuels with the environmental assessment process now? You are hoping to get permits by the end of the year. What is the timeline for the final submission from your company?
Yeah, so we've been in the environmental process since earlier this year. We have a Class 1 assessment, which means that we'll be putting those documents in sort of end of September. That's a 50-day review period, assuming that we've submitted all the information that they need, which we think we will. And then we'll get a permit approval by the end of this year, which will allow for the Q1 2023 start of construction.
Since EverWind Fuels arrived in the Strait area in May, your company's made announcements about a couple of partnerships with Mi'kmaq communities in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia. Can you tell me a little about these partnerships and why they're so important to you?
Yeah, and it's just the start of a process, but we've got investment agreements with Membertou and Buttonkek as part of the project, and we're just at the start of this, and so we'll be sort of engaging across the board. A really big part of engaging is actually figuring out what we can do and what's needed, and so it's a listening process as well. It's a communicating process, and we've been doing that since February, March, and we'll continue to do that for quite some period of time. We're looking for further engagement. We've been hired different First Nations owned businesses. For example, 3D Wave that will produce the image that you'll show. We've done cultural training here at the site. But it's not a checkbox. It's a journey. Okay, it's a journey over a long period of time, and that's what we want to do. Is just be consistent and really sort of help some of the First Nation communities around here. Meet their objectives, grow economics, what the things that are important to them. And we're listening and seeing what we can do to help their objectives.
And I understand your company's looking to bring on more Indigenous workers and partnerships as it proceeds with the Green Ammonia project.
Absolutely, and so we've got meetings with various communities and chiefs that are happening over time, and we've been reaching out for the start of the project, and we'll do more of that work on a continuous basis. There's more to do. This is not where we are right now is just the start of the story.
Trent Vichie, as the CEO of EverWind Fuels, you really seem to be looking ahead to this with quite a bit of optimism. Can you explain what you're feeling as you stand on the cusp of this new development?
So I feel pretty good. So in terms of there is a very strong demand in the market right now. The situation that's happening in Europe right now with the Ukraine situation has driven a huge amount of demand from European buyers. They're having real difficulty in terms of getting power supply sources, and so they're desperately trying to get whatever power they can get. So LNG is sort of finding its way there, but the German and the European market, they really want clean fuels. They're trying to decarbonize as well. So the demand there is very, very good. In terms of the process so far, the community and I'd say the province and the federal government, the policy is incredibly supportive, and so I'd say we feel really good, and it's really just working through all of the fine details of making sure that we've checked all the boxes on all of the things that need to be done.
We've covered a lot of ground here today, as I thought we might. Do you have any final words for our viewers in terms of how things are going and what we could look for in the future?
Yeah, I think what we're doing here is just a wonderful opportunity to sort of, again, draw strengths from the region. So we're focused on making sure that the benefits are here with locals, the employment, the jobs and the skills are here. The other thing I'd say, just as a general observation, is the people of Nova Scotia, I say, are very tough, smart, independently minded people. And that's actually what you need to survive in sort of the broader world today. And I've seen a number of world-beating champions come out of the region. And I've come to the conclusion that it's because you just have such an amazing sort of strength and intelligence of the people here. But also, they've grown up in an environment where independence and that go-getter, problem-solver attitude is rewarded and needed to survive. So that's why you've seen it. You've seen successful Nova Scotians go out into the world, and part of the project is the folks who have been, forced to go to the west part of Canada to work. Let's bring them back. You've got this amazing skill set. Let's bring it back here where they can come home and deliver the benefits for the community. And so I think this business should hopefully be a start of a green industry in Nova Scotia. We really want to sort of drive the benefits here. And you've got an amazing resource, and we just want to bring that to life. So EverWinds, we view our role as a catalyst to start that process.
Well, I know there are still steps to be taken in the environmental assessment process, but I appreciate you taking some time for me to explain what EverWind Fuels is all about. Thank you so much, Trent, for joining me on Telile 24/7 today.
Thank you so much.
And now, as promised, we have not just one, but two editions of the Fast Five for you. First of all, here is the new CAO for Richmond County, Troy MacCulloch. Joining us now to play Telile 24/7's infamous Fast Five game is the new CAO for Richmond County. He is, of course, Troy MacCulloch. Troy, are you all ready to play the Fast Five?
I think so.
All right, spoken like a champion. Here we go. Let's do it. First up, Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
All right, we'll forgive you for that one. Next up, favorite sandwich?
Roast beef.
Okay, there we are. Lots of roast beef dinners around here in Richmond County, so
Yeah.
you'll be a happy man. Dream vacation?
Egypt.
Egypt, you say. Why Egypt, just out of curiosity?
I have a passion for ancient cultures and history. Yeah.
My goodness, well, I hope you get there someday. Right
Yeah,
on.
me too.
All right. I have seen this movie 5 times. I would happily watch it another 50. What is that movie?
Braveheart.
Braveheart. There we are. Nicely done. The Tale of William Wallace. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And last question, and we picked this one especially for you. Favorite musical instrument? Because I understand you play a few.
I do. The pipes, without a doubt, bagpipes.
Will we ever get to see you play the bagpipes at a council meeting?
At a council? Well, possibly. Never say never.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like that. You could play "O Canada" at the start. That'd
There
be
you go.
terrific.
There
All
you
right.
go.
See, that wasn't so hard.
Not bad at all.
Get you off to a good start as CAO. Thank you so much, Troy.
Much appreciated, Adam.
All right. Troy MacCulloch is the brand new Chief Administrative Officer for Richmond County, and he is the latest victim of volunteer for the Telile 24/7 Fast Five. And rounding out Telile 24/7 this week, a second edition of the Fast Five, you might be surprised at some of the things that come out of the mouth of the CEO of EverWind Fuels, Trent Vichie. Here's what happened when we played the Fast Five at the EverWind Fuels headquarters in Point Tupper. And we're pleased to be joined for the latest edition of Telile 24/7's infamous Fast Five game with Trent Vichie, who is the CEO of EverWind Fuels. Trent, are you all ready to play the Fast Five?
I'm all ready. I'm nervous, but I'm ready.
That's what I like, nervous and ready. So here we go. First question, coffee, tea, or neither?
Coffee, always.
How do you take your coffee?
Milk and sweetener and lots of it.
Nicely done. That's great. All right, second question, your dream vacation?
My dream vacation is in front of a laptop working. I'm crazy like that. I never stop.
That's the first person to ever answer that. That's kind of unreal. Yeah. Well done. Our friendly workaholic here, Trent. That's terrific. I've seen this movie 5 times. I would watch it another 500. What is that movie?
Trading Places.
Oh. Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, or Spies Like Us. There's another one too. I love those movies.
Oh my goodness. We have to get Dan Aykroyd back to Nova Scotia to play the Blues Festival in Truro because we've got a fan here. Right on.
Love Dan Aykroyd. He's amazing. And Stripes he was in. Oh no, that's Bill Murray.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, you were thinking Ghostbusters anyway, so we're kind of
I love Ghostbusters.
There we are. Yeah. So Dan Aykroyd Film Festival coming to EverWind Fuels. We'll set it up right here at the terminal. Next question: you can be one animal for one day. What is that animal?
An eagle. It'd be so much fun to fly. That'd be so cool.
Perfect for Cape Breton too. And we wrap up the Fast Five with this question, Trent: does ketchup go on hot dogs?
Ketchup does go on hot dogs. So does mustard and onions too.
Right. There we are. And by the way, when you say ketchup does, that's the right answer. There, that wasn't so hard. Thank you very much, Trent, for playing the Fast Five with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. That was fun.
All right. Trent Vichie is the CEO of EverWind Fuels here in Point Tupper, and he is the latest volunteer for Telile 24/7's Fast Five game. And there you have it. That wraps up this week's edition of Telile 24/7. Thank you again for tuning in, and a big thank you to my interview guests this week, Trent Vichie and Troy MacCulloch. And special thanks to Communications Nova Scotia, the Province of Nova Scotia, and the Office of the Lieutenant Governor for providing the Lieutenant Governor's remarks on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. If you have any thoughts about what you've seen over the past hour on Telile 24/7, or just some suggestions for future shows, I'd love to hear them. You can contact me directly. My phone number is 902-625-8863, and my email address is adamjrcook, cook with an E, @gmail.com. You can also contact Telile Community Television with your suggestions and your comments. The station phone number in Arichat is 902-226-1928, and the best email address to use is telile@telile.tv. Don't forget that you can follow Telile on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and our YouTube channel features every single edition of Telile 24/7, including this one, as well as individual segments and interviews from our programs. And you can also see every episode of our sister shows, The Front Porch and Roundtable. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you once again for joining me for Telile 24/7. I look forward to seeing you again next week with a brand new show that just happens to be our 100th edition of Telile 24/7. Till then, take care. Bye for now.